The more games have advanced over the years, the more developers have tried to push to big open worlds for players to get lost in. In many ways, this allows players to be creative in how they approach video games, as not only do they focus on the story, but they find new and interesting ways to play a game and how they want to. Well, now technology has progressed enough for us to not only play these big open worlds that used to be revolutionizing, but now we can also play them on a handheld device. That to me is just incredible, so today we're going to take a look at the top 15 best open world games available on the Nintendo Switch. As always though, this is only my opinion, so if I miss one of your favorite games, let me know in the comments below. With that said though, let's get right into the list. To start off this list, I have an oldie but a goodie, Red Faction. Now this was a really fun game for the Xbox PS360 generation, but it surprisingly holds up really well even today. That's mainly because of its destructible environment that was well ahead of its time when it originally released. There is just something fun about this type of gameplay. It's not necessarily going to blow you away in terms of its story, but if you just want a fun game, then Red Faction is still good even today. Now this next one is a bit different, but I think Burnout Paradise deserves a spot on this list for being one of the best open world racing games outside of maybe Forza Horizon. Burnout Paradise though is absurdly fun, allowing you to race in several high-speed cars and motorcycles, and just lets you play in a world like it's your own racing playground. They even somehow make crashes fun as they go into these sort of cinematic style wrecks. That really is how I would sum up Burnout Paradise though. It's just simply fun, especially if you like racing games. If you're looking for more of a story-driven open-world game, LA Naguaire is an interesting one. Now this isn't like some of the other open-world games on this list, as it's almost a linear open-world experience, if that makes any sense. What I mean by that is you really are driven by the plot of this game, but luckily the narrative is done very well, and something that still stands out today is the phenomenal facial expressions in this game. With that said, I do understand that not everybody is going to view this as an open world game, as it is a little bit more linear, but it was just too good to leave off of this list. Saints Row is a very peculiar franchise. What started out as an almost Grand Theft Auto-like clone eventually turned into this very wacky franchise where you just basically rule a city. In this case, Saints Row 4 really went into that sci-fi route where you have superpowers. It's certainly a very goofy game and doesn't take itself too serious, but it is a ton of fun. The overall combat is done very well, it has some RPG-like mechanics thrown in, and it even has a fun cooperative experience. The Nintendo Switch may not be known for first-person shooters, but there are quite a few that really stands out, Borderlands Legendary Collection being one of those games. In fact, this is 3 separate games and a great way to experience the first 3 Borderlands games. The cel-shaded art style really stands out on the Switch's handheld screen, the shooting mechanics are phenomenal, and the looting is as addictive as it ever was. This is easily a great sandbox experience, and there is a ton of content here with 3 separate games included. And at the number 10 spot, I have LEGO City Undercover. While the Switch doesn't have Grand Theft Auto, it does have LEGO City, which can be enjoyed by both adults and kids. I would say it leans a little more heavily towards kids, but there is a lot to do in this game with an expansive world. It also consistently changes up the gameplay with new abilities and costumes to unlock that keeps the experience fresh. I don't usually like these type of games, but I think LEGO City is surprisingly fun and has a good sense of humor with all of its parodies and references to other games, shows, and movies. Dragon Quest Builders 2 remains one of the most overlooked games on the Nintendo Switch, and that's such a shame for how good this game actually is. While it may simply look like a Minecraft clone, there is a real focus on its narrative as well. I would even say it's a full-blown JRPG with its story, action-based combat, and then of course, you have the building. It also has huge environments for you to explore and build new things as you unlock more recipes. However, if you just want to strictly build things, then there is also Minecraft, which is more than deserving of this spot as well. Star Fox has always been a beloved mascot for Nintendo, and while we may not have that big new Star Fox game just yet, we do have the next best thing, Starlink. Not only does it share some similarities with the Star Fox franchise, but it also has Star Fox in the game. Yeah, that's right, Star Fox is included in Starlink, and it's essentially an open-world Star Fox game. This is a toys-to-life game similar to the Skylanders franchise, but it is a very good game with strong aerial combat and multiple planets to explore. This one may surprise a few people, but I think very highly of Ashen. This game does play very similar to Dark Souls with more of a focus on cooperative gameplay. In fact, you do have an AI companion that will follow you around, though you can turn this option off as I did. I love the Ashen world though, and it's actually one of the reasons I enjoyed this game so much. It has a very simplistic but gorgeous art style. I really like the creativity with some of the characters and boss designs, and yes, just like Dark Souls, it is a very difficult game. I for one though enjoy the challenge. As for its open world though, there is a lot of secrets to find if you really decide to search and explore. While critics don't seem to love this game, I would encourage you to try this one out for yourself. When Dragon's Dogma originally released, it kind of went under the radar, but to this day, I think it's one of the most underrated games of the last decade. Luckily though, Capcom did add more content and revived it with Dark Arisen, and it's a great open world experience. This is mainly because of its combat, which is both varied and a ton of fun. It also kind of reminds me of one of my all-time favorite games, Shadow of the Colossus, where you have these huge monsters that you can climb and slay. Strictly speaking though, I do think Dragon's Dogma is one of the best open-world RPGs available right now. Xenoblade technically is not an open-world game where you can just explore everything as soon as you boot up the game. Instead, it's more of a linear experience with a heavy focus on its story, but with huge expansive environments to explore. After looking around though, because the landscapes are so big, many do consider this an open-world game, and because I think it's one of the best JRPGs right now, I had to include it. It has a very unique combat system where you choose different abilities to attack your opponents in real time. It has interesting characters and a fun story. Now there is that debate on which Xenoblade should you get. I personally think both are great, though I do prefer the first game. Nonetheless, the hype around these games are real. They are very good. Assassin's Creed is one of the most popular franchises in the game industry right now, and for a good reason. These are great action-adventure games with strong stories, fun fluid gameplay, and interesting worlds to explore. Well, the Switch managed to get Assassin's Creed Rebel Collection, which includes Black Flag and Rogue. I really like the setting in Black Flag, where you take the role of a pirate, and you even get to fight in several naval battles. Yeah, these are big AAA games on the Switch, and some of the better entries in the Assassin's Creed franchise. They also perform impressively well on the Switch, having a dynamic 1080p in docked mode and then 720p in portable. If you haven't played these games yet, I think the Switch is a great way to play them. Skyrim has pretty much released on every device since it first released, and in many ways, it's the post-child of big open-world RPGs. It's debatable not a single game has done it better than what Bethesda did with this game. It's actually pretty incredible what they pulled off here. I'm not usually into side quests, but with Skyrim, I somehow played this game for 30 hours before I even really focused on the actual story. Yet you can absolutely get lost in the world of Skyrim, which is a testament to how good this game actually is. Well, now you can play it on the Switch as well, and once again, it remains an incredible game. If for whatever reason you have not tried Skyrim yet, do yourself a favor and go check this game out. And even if you have, playing in portable mode might just be worth a replay. The Witcher 3 is nothing short of a masterpiece. This very well may be the best RPG ever made, and that's because almost everything in this game is done masterfully. Not only is the world interesting to explore with several different landscapes, but it also has one of the best stories in all of gaming. The characters are engaging, you have tough decisions to make where they actually impact the world around you, and even the combat is both unique and fun. I don't usually do this with games, but I have beat The Witcher 3 multiple times because it's always a joy to play. Now with that said, you do need to keep in mind that there was some sacrifices made in order to get The Witcher 3 to run on the Switch, but it's still impressive in its own right. It even includes all of its DLC expansions, which are actually better than some full games on the market. Like I said, The Witcher 3 is a masterpiece. And the number 1 spot goes to none other than Zelda Breath of the Wild. If we're just talking about big open world experiences, Breath of the Wild gives you complete freedom. Right from the very beginning, you can go anywhere in the world and choose how you want to set forth on your own adventure. And there is a lot to do in Breath of the Wild, whether that be gliding around the world, climbing huge mountains, cooking, solving puzzles in the countless dungeons you'll find, and the combat is really good as well. I think it even has an interesting plot, and if you do just focus on the story, you'll still find enjoyment there. Breath of the Wild may have been a launch game for the Switch, but it still remains one of the best Switch games available today, and one of the best open world games for not only the Switch, but for all platforms. Without a doubt, Zelda Breath of the Wild is an amazing game. Anyways though, that's it for this video, but if you liked the video, don't forget to hit the bell notification and subscribe button for more content just like this. Also, if you'd like to support the channel through Patreon, thank you for helping make this content possible. Peace out.